so I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're watching this, it is the what episode are we on? Second one? The second one. Second episode of Mechanics of Myth, where we
Yes,
discuss
sir.
how the myth of video games, the story writing rather, and the mechanics go hand to hand. And sometimes we just talk about
Mhm.
one or the other. Or we might go off on long tangents. Who knows? It's anybody's guess. But yeah. So that's where we are at. Um, Look, I'm just gonna tell you right now, like I don't know if you've seen this game right here. I just picked up this game. This is Dragon Ball Z
Lightning
Sparking
balls.
Zero.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
I remember
been
you talking about it.
yes. And I was like, oh man, I was so excited getting into the game. I was like, because this is technically what is considered to be like the fourth Tenkaichi, right? That came
Mhm.
out way back in like 2007, right? Or
Mhm.
some junk like that, right? And everybody was wondering like when is the fourth one gonna drop? They dropped the trailer like maybe a year or two ago, and then they was like, oh, it's gonna be like 100 and some odd characters, 180 characters in there. And everybody, I mean everybody and their mama was like hooking up their old PlayStation 2s and turning on Tenkaichi 3 to start training for this game. And then uh they changed up some of the stuff. So when I played it, that was a big shock to me because I was like, wait a minute, this it don't have the correct timing or anything like that. I, your pride as a gamer, right, is don't lower the difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lowered the difficulty. I'm not ashamed to say it. I lowered, I had to. I had to. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I kept getting beat. And I don't know what it is, but when I was fighting, who was I fighting? It was Vegeta. When I was fighting Vegeta, he kept on like, I don't, whatever it is that they did with the computer, they made their rush attacks like faster than like what was normal. And they kept zooming behind me and I couldn't block it. I couldn't zoom behind them. I think it has something to do with the way that I changed to the legacy controls. I might have to go
Mm.
back and change it to like the newer controls, but it's because it's like the timing of everything, the pacing of everything, of how you like get behind another person, vanish attack, and all this other stuff, it didn't work the same. And so I was just getting my behind handed to me more times than I can count. And I was like, nah, we gotta do something with this right here. Like I couldn't do it. Like
Mm.
I was like, forget that, try whatever. This is just gonna have to get beat. Like, shoot, I don't care, you know? So that's what that was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
yeah, no, I can't and you know what? Here's the thing. When you play as the character that is constantly beating you,
Mm.
and they don't move the same, they don't move as fast, I'm like, okay, now y'all for sure cheating. Like I don't know how it's possible, but computers cheat. Like how they
That's
be setting up stuff, they be cheating.
that was Ganondorf in Super Smash Bros. Melee. 100%. 100%. And Ganondorf in Super Smash Bros. Melee as a computer was
Mhm.
a nuisance. And then once you became Ganondorf, it was like he's actually really slow and hard to control.
Look, okay, when you started pressing the buttons, were you like when you threw that first punch or kick or whatever the attack was, right? Were you just like, wait a minute, this ain't moving at the same speed?
Oh yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you work so hard to get that character because you're like, oh, they're constantly whooping me. Once I get this character, I'm gonna whoop up on everybody. And then it's
right,
like, this is worse than the person that I main as. Like,
right,
yeah,
nah,
yeah,
no, that's it's a
yeah.
demoralizing feeling when like
It is. It
when
is.
it's like when you feel like you won this trophy or you finally got the opportunity to turn the tables
Mhm.
on like the computer or whoever, right? And then
Mhm.
it's just like, oh yeah, no, they don't operate the same. They don't like when you
Mhm.
it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it when
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta, use the same character.
UFC is notorious for that, the UFC games. So like UFC 4, I haven't played UFC 5 yet, but UFC 4, like Conor McGregor as a computer is almost unbeatable. Like you could have this dude on the ropes, rocked 4 times, and then he just kind of goes, "Yeah," and then you're out cold. And it's like same with John Jones, same with Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier as a computer could tackle you from across the octagon, like, and you can't stuff that takedown. And then you try to play as these characters, and
What
it's
did you
just
say?
you can't stuff the takedown.
I thought you said something else. Go ahead. We ain't gonna talk about that. Just know that it was a pause moment. It was a pause moment. I thought I heard something else. The people who are gonna listen to this would be like, they know clearly what you said. It was just me. That was my fault. I ain't here. Shoot, it don't even matter. John Jones.
Yeah, John Jones. John Jones is a menace on computer. It's near impossible to beat. Um, Daniel Cormier is same way. Daniel Cormier, he'll take you down from anywhere. Khabib Nurmagomedov, same way. He'll take you down from anywhere. It's like, like at that point, I just stopped trying to stuff takedowns and I just started spamming uppercuts. So if it looked like they were going to try to, you know, X-Men teleport across the cage and try to take me down, just
Mhm.
throw an uppercut and hope it lands, or throw a knee or something.
Dude,
It's like,
like
oh my gosh.
when you play the when you play like fighting games or even any type of
Hmm.
adventure game or yeah, I would say adventure game, maybe even role-playing game where there is like a boss or something like that or something
Hmm.
similar to a boss. Because I don't know how the UFC games work as far as like if they have bosses or if it's just like a more like Tekken where like everybody's like a single fight and like how's that
Um,
work?
yeah, you could technically call some fights boss fights in a way.
Hmm.
Um,
Because they seem harder than normal.
they're harder than normal, for sure harder than normal. So, for instance, usually when you play those games, you're like starting out your MMA career. Um, so you're fighting undercards and stuff like that. But when you go to get into the UFC, you have to fight to get into the UFC. And usually the fight that determines if you get into the UFC or not, that one's going to be pretty hard. And then your first fight in the UFC is going to be okay. Um, I feel like I got to sneeze. Hold on.
Yep.
I think we're okay.
Your screen is not frozen. He's just waiting on a
Yeah,
sneeze.
waiting on a sneeze. Um, it may or may not happen. It might happen. It's gonna hurt when it does. I still feel it. This is annoying. Anyway, so as you go up the rankings, depending on what part of the ranking you're in, like when you go to break into the top 10, that fight is going to be hard. When you go to break into fighting on the main card, that fight's going to be hard. When you go to fight for number one contender spot, that fight's going to be hard. And then the champ fight is going to be hard. And then they'll let you defend the belt kind of not easily, but like it's a little bit of a challenge, but not as much as a challenge as fighting the champ. And then sometimes they'll have you fight the previous champ again. And when that happens, it's going to be an even harder fight than what it was when he was champ and you took the belt from him, or
Hmm.
she was champ and you took the belt from her, or whatever it might be. So, in that sense, it's kind of a boss fight, but it's more based on ranking of the fighter and also based on the skill set of the fighter and everything else. So, um, it's kind of like Tekken in a way, but it's also like a boss fight in a way. So, Tekken's got these dudes that are just like really tough, and the next ones are pretty easy based upon whatever fighter you have.
Right.
If you got a fighter that's a striker in MMA, UFC versus a grappler, it's going to be a harder fight. But if you got a grappler versus a striker and they're a really good striker, it's going to be a hard fight, you know? So it's all dependent on can you implement your game plan or not? And that's what makes it difficult or makes it easier. But sometimes you get these like they call them flash knockouts, where there's some characters that just have heavy hands, you know, and they will all of a sudden just out of nowhere, and then you're out. And it's like, come on, like I was tooling him up the entire fight. What happened?
Yeah.
You know, so
They get that
it's
extra
frustrating.
burst of energy out of nowhere.
Hmm.
I heard
Which happens in the UFC. I will say that's actually a
yeah.
real thing that happens. Like one punch can solve any fight. So to me, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, well, I heard well the only reason why I brought that up is because I'm like when people are playing these games, I know for me like the last game that I played where it's just like this is getting frustrating. Like I just keep dying, right? The last game that I played that was like that was God of War Ragnarok. And it's like
Really,
there's always there's always like I legit needed divine help on that one because none oh, you think I'm playing. So what ended up I'll tell you this story.
who were you fighting?
Uh I want to say her name was Gana.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Gana.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um but even before that, the I don't know what his name was. I needed divine help on that too, but not as much as Gana. Gana was an issue. She was a problem. Um
That's the Undead Kings, right? Was it part of that quest or what? What?
no. This was after you cleared the main story
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you return to
Oh, the Valkyrie.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so
That's
But
that's
but
rough.
but the king dude,
Uh-huh.
he was the other one. The like
Hmm. Hmm.
after you finish
Hmm.
the fighting the rest. I'm gonna call him the J King because he was green and that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
his name was probably
Fallen Kings or
Holoff the
something like that.
Skull the Conqueror or something like that. I don't know. Um, but fighting them independently wasn't bad, but when I got to him, he was an
Hmm.
issue because he was mixing up everybody's different
Hmm.
styles. And
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I legit felt like the beginning of an Eminem song, like palms sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, all of that stuff, except for the mom spaghetti, which I could have used because I needed some energy. But that's how my hands was like cramping up. I was like, come on, bro. Like he kept getting me. And here's the thing, I kept getting him down to like the last
Yeah.
like quarter, and
Hmm.
I don't know what it was. I don't know
Hmm.
if the game wasn't set on like a checkpoint health or something like that, but I had to start all over again. Like when I died, like I had to start all the way
Hmm.
over from full.
Hmm.
So I would get down to I would know the moves. I'm like, okay, when he go
Hmm.
up in the air, when he go up in the
Hmm.
air, I just have to run. But then
Hmm.
this Joker, right when I got to like three quarter, like no, half,
Hmm.
this dude done jumped three times, start jumping three times. I was like, I didn't see that
Mhm,
third one,
mhm,
second and third one coming.
mhm, mhm,
I didn't like
mhm,
that. I didn't appreciate that. So I like after 50,000 tries, I finally got him.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
Gana? Oh, Gana? Let me tell you something. When I tell you divine intervention, I'm not even exaggerating. When I tell you Jesus,
Mhm, mhm,
like I legit prayed to God and Jesus,
mhm, mhm,
let me win. When I say I mean this with no exaggeration, I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened.
mhm,
I played the game. I must have got decimated like 50,000 times. And on this last one, I was like, Jesus, I just need some help right now. You need to help me beat this one. I kid you not, like like she started glitching. Like she started like having animations as if she was getting hit,
Hmm,
but no damage was taken. She was
hmm,
stuck in the animation, like right when I got to like halfway, and like she would start trying to jump up, and she didn't because and she was starting to do that like little like wing attack
hmm,
and some other powerful attacks to where I know that if I got hit, I would have been dead.
hmm,
And
hmm,
so she like the constant like interruption animation of her like getting hit but not taking any
hmm,
damage kept
hmm,
happening and I wasn't hitting her. But I was working just fine. So I'm like, I'm going in. So then when I finally
hmm.
got that R3, oh man. When I finally got that R3, I was like, man, I felt like Kobe during the 2010 finals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, no,
Uh,
that was divine intervention. I don't care what nobody say.
I don't think I've beaten Ganai yet, if I remember correctly. I don't think I've beaten her yet.
Gnaw's an
I
issue.
tried. I tried. I just haven't. I don't think I have yet.
See,
I find it good.
what you gotta get is and see, I thought I was doing the smart thing by like stacking up
Yeah.
like the armor that has the health and time
Mm,
stuff like that to where like it would go in
mm,
slow motion and every time I would activate my shield, I would get like 2 seconds of health and stuff like that because everything was already maxed out to like 9 at
yeah.
the time. You
Yeah.
know, I know you can
Yeah. Yeah.
go, I think you can go further now with like New Game Plus,
Yep.
but I
Yep.
never played. I
Yep.
was like, I'm not touching that again. I'm gonna just let my record stay perfect. And she was the last one. I think she was the last one I had to fight to get the no, I was trying to find tier. I was gonna say I think that was the last
uh,
thing that I had to do before I got the platinum trophy on it. But
okay.
nah, she was an issue. I'm not I never 100%ed the first one, the 2018 one. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if I gotta fight them,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% of the 2013 one. I haven't 100% at Ragnarok yet.
Mm,
I want to. I I think overall storyline, and
mm,
people are gonna hate me for this.
yeah.
People are gonna hate me for this, but
Okay.
I'm gonna say it.
Uh-oh.
Villain wise, 2013 was better. Story wise, Ragnarok better.
Okay, wait a minute. Who was the villain of the first one?
That was
Boulder.
why am I Boulder? Yeah, Balder, not
And
Boulder, Balder.
you I come from up north.
Balder. I'll help you out. Balder. Yeah, Balder was the main villain of the first one.
Yeah.
Um, way better villain, in my opinion. Way better ending boss fight. Way better villain. Story wise, though,
Yeah.
Ragnarok was significantly better, in my opinion.
I thought, you know what? Here's the thing. I thought what you call it was gonna be bigger than what he was like I thought it was gonna be better than what it was. Like the
Odin.
no, well, him too, but Thor.
Yeah, yeah. I was disappointed that we didn't get to fight Thor at a better level than what we did in the beginning. Because the beginning was a great fight. The
Yeah,
beginning fight with Thor was amazing.
yeah,
Um, actually killed Kratos for a second, then shocked him back to life.
yeah.
But
Gave him that
yeah,
life support hammer. that
Yeah, right.
what they call them,
Well,
what the
I
AED.
yeah, I think it fits with the story though, um, because at the end, Thor wasn't the same Thor in the beginning of the game. In
Right.
the beginning of the game, he was sober. In the beginning of the game, he was clear-headed. In the beginning of the game, he was focused. He was dedicated to his craft. Um, at the end of the game, his, for lack of a better word, his wife kind of is the reason why he got killed in a way, because
Okay.
she talked to him so much and got him off of that killer instinct and more just like a broken-hearted father that was drunk. And it's like the whole time when you're playing Atreus and you're in Asgard, you hear conversations with Lady Sif and Thor through the door, and you just hear Thor is just he's changing. He's a lot more like depressed and down on himself, and he's just not the same character by the time it's over. So I think in that way they stuck true to what was happening in the story. Um, she's the reason why he turned his back on Odin the way that he did. The Thor that was in the beginning of the story, if Odin tried what he did to Thor at the end,
Hmm.
Odin would have gotten wrecked. Odin would have gotten wrecked because he was just, he's a lot powerful. And also, the other thing that people neglect to bring up is the fact that Thor was injured by the Leviathan axe
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
it wasn't healing
yeah.
because
The
there's
yeah.
certain powers with the Leviathan axe for a purpose of taking down Thor, So the fact that he got injured in the beginning
Well, that
and that
axe was
injury,
meant to oppose the hammer.
mhm. Yeah, it was meant to oppose the hammer and it was meant to kill Thor. Like it
Yeah.
was built specifically to oppose the hammer and to kill Thor. Um, so the fact that he was injured, the fact that he was drunk again, the fact that he was depressed, the fact that he was just not clear-headed at all, and he had this like identity crisis and everything, like to me that makes sense.
Hmm.
The best way to take down someone who, by all accounts, will mess you up any
Hmm.
other day of the week is to get in their head. You get in their head, you cripple them a little bit, you're going to be able to take them down. So, in that sense, was I disappointed in the fight? Sure. In the same breath, it made sense based upon the story, based upon everything leading up to it. Like, if he was tougher at the end than he was in the beginning, then why did we have all the story of him going through the turmoil that he went through? What's the point of that? That
Right.
makes no sense. None whatsoever. In a lot of ways, I think that they had to have that turmoil through the game so that Kratos actually could beat Thor in a stand-up fight, you know? Um, because Thor wasn't the same Thor when he fought him. It was a different mentality completely. Kratos was a better version of himself too.
Yeah.
So Kratos was a better version of himself. Thor was a lesser version of himself. So obviously the fight isn't gonna go the way that people were like, "Oh, this is gonna be the best fight." Da da da. No, which I would argue that that game, the boss fights in the original God of Wars, were what made the game. 2013 and Ragnarok, the game was made by the storyline. It wasn't the boss fights. The boss fights were an additive, don't get me wrong. The boss
Right.
fights were epic in 2013 versus Baldur. Like that opening sequence of you fighting Baldur,
I
fantastic. That final fight with Baldur,
mhm.
oh, so good.
I will say this real quick, because
Mhm.
I know people are gonna be probably like when they hear this, they're gonna be keeping thinking that you're gonna say like 2013 came out in 2018.
Why am I saying 2013? You said 2013. You
No,
put
I
that in my
didn't.
mind.
No, I didn't.
You said 20, didn't you?
No,
No.
No.
2018. Why am I saying 2013? What came out in 2013 that I'm getting confused by?
Maybe the like the remasters of the like when it came out on the PS3, like when God of War 1, 2, and 3 came out on the PS3.
Maybe that might be what I'm getting stuck on. 2018. I apologize, people. I'm getting the dates mixed up in my head. I'm sorry.
No.
2018. I'm getting a little older. I'm dying inside. We're okay. I'm gonna use my kidney as an excuse here. Anyway,
Fair enough.
fair. Hey, 2018. Sorry,
No.
sorry. 2018. Yeah, 2018. The boss fights were against Boulder were impeccable. I will say that. The other boss fights were kind of lacking in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, the boss fights versus Modi and
Magni.
oh,
Magni and Modi.
Magni.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magni and Modi. It was okay.
You know. Well,
It was it was kind of lacking.
I like the little back to back that they did.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
I like it too. It would have made more sense if Atreus was older.
yeah.
Because Atreus,
Speak
what are you doing?
speaking of which, speaking of
Yeah.
Atreus, like I feel like they alter a lot of like the characters, a little bit of the characters' backgrounds because obviously just based off of Norse mythology, obviously
Hmm.
Loki is supposed to be a giant, which he is, but he's only
Yeah.
half giant and half
Right.
like Greek in
Hmm.
in the thing in the game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then they made it seem like, well, Thor is kind of adopted and he's a half giant too.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think that was the case.
No. So,
That's
well,
probably why you
it, they,
felt conflicted.
yeah, Thor was a half giant. He wasn't really adopted. It just Odin treated him like he was adopted. What the crazy thing is, like in Norse mythology, like Thor is basically Odin's favorite son.
Yeah.
You know, um, so the fact that he was so dismissive of him and like you're useless and I liked you better when you were drunk and all this other stuff, like I think it was more Thor was contented with the fact that in his drunkenness, trying to get Odin's approval, he killed all these people, all these giants, and then sober Thor lost his family, against this guy that now Odin isn't allowing him to take vengeance on. So, it, I don't know.
Well, I
That
think
was interesting to me too.
I think that's kind of the parallel, right, between what you said earlier about, well, um, Thor is becoming a lesser version of himself and Kratos is
Hmm.
becoming a better version of himself. While
Hmm.
like it's like, but also that's because Kratos is also becoming like a better, I would say like a better father, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like he's already been through kind of like the struggle of where Thor currently is in the
Hmm.
previous one, where he's like,
Hmm.
listen, I'm trying to toughen you up. I don't take
Hmm.
crap, right? I'm just trying to do
Hmm.
whatever's necessary so we can survive, right? And then it's
Yeah.
like he's still mourning, Thor's still mourning, and it's just like he stayed stuck in that place, right?
Hmm.
Is the it's
Hmm.
they're at like they're kind of on the same path, right? Of like, but it's just that Thor is at the beginning of his, which is
Yeah.
why like it took him a whole game to like realize like, oh, you know, like he's kind of like, and it took combat almost to do that. It took like circumstances where like you have to show him how to like this is what people care. You only live for combat and nothing else,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Which I think is the reason why they had to kill Thor off,
yeah,
as much as I hate it. He's just too much. He's too much like Kratos, you know.
I mean, he
Um,
technically is the God of War in that
yeah,
verse.
yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
technically,
of
um,
the Acer, right? Oh, no,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of the Asgard.
yeah.
But how do I put this? It made more sense to have, for the first time ever,
Hmm.
Kratos get his true identity.
What do you mean?
In all the old games,
Hmm.
Kratos' weapons, none of them were his and his alone.
Okay. He always
So
stole them
his
or got them from
Blades of
enemies.
Chaos,
Yeah.
yeah, Blades of Chaos were given to him, but they were a binding to him. They were literal chains binding him into imprisonment
Hmm.
to Ares.
Right.
He stole all the other weapons that he took, like he fought for. He stole them all. So he went through and everybody that he killed, he took their weapons. None of the weapons were his. And then in God of War 2018, corrected at that time, the Leviathan axe was given to him by his wife,
Right.
but it wasn't made for him. It was made for her. So he didn't steal it, but it was given to him. So it was a borrowed weapon, essentially, even though it had become his axe. And by the way, probably the coolest weapon. I'm just saying. Um,
It's basically
I love
Stormbreaker.
it's basically Stormbreaker. I love the axe. I love the axe.
Yeah.
The Leviathan axe is awesome. But so he gets the Leviathan axe from his wife. He still has the Blades of Chaos, but there's still a borrowed weapon or a gifted weapon that wasn't originally his, and a weapon that used to be his binding that still originally wasn't his. You know, um, so he hates those the Blades of Chaos because of the past that they're tied to,
Hmm.
and the axe reminds him of the loss of his wife.
Sure.
So then in God of War Ragnarok, they say we need to forge a weapon that can take down Odin, and they make the spear, which is, for one, it's tied to his Spartan roots.
Yeah.
It's no one else has held it before him. No one else has wielded it before him. It's got distinct powers that nobody else has, and no one could take it from him unless they take the ring off of his finger, which good luck.
Right. Do that if you want to.
Do that if you want to. So, in a way,
What about the shield?
the shield was a gift from his wife.
That's for him.
It was for him, but it was hers first, and she gave it to him.
Oh, okay.
But I wouldn't consider that a weapon. I consider that armor, so
Sure.
it's different. But the fact that he's given this new identity in a way of getting the spear, and it's blessed by someone that he considers a friend, which is Brock.
Hmm.
Like that to him was a huge deal, you know. Even then, like you hear him talking to Atreus later, and he's like, "So which one's your favorite?" You know, the spear is cool, the blades of chaos are cool, the Leviathan axe is cool, and he goes, "I like the axe." You know, like he still has sentiment to the axe because it was gifted to him by his wife. But the spear is kind of a testament to who he is as a man
Right.
now, right? He will keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, and you cannot stop him. There's just no way to stop this guy. But at the same time, spears are effective defensive weapons. They're protective weapons. They not only protect you, but they protect the man next to you. So in Spartan practice, your shield was meant to cover you. Your spear was meant to cover the guy next to you.
Right.
So, and then vice versa, because the guy next to you here, his spear is protecting you, and his spear is protecting this, and they would make this circle of shields and spears,
Hmm.
right? So,
It's
in
like
a
that
lot of ways,
spear. It's like the spear from the old games.
hmm hmm
Because you
yeah,
could pull off that special move, and
hmm
it was like it probably was called the Spear of Sparta or something like that.
so, yeah,
And he had that special move, you know what I'm talking about, where like
hmm
all of a sudden shields would come out of nowhere and it would like just explode like a porcupine, almost like
hmm
porcupine
hmm
quills.
yeah, no, and that's exactly, it's a testament to that, but it's also a testament to like this spear fights like a bunch of Spartans because you stab and then a piece is there, a stab, a piece is there, you throw it on the ground, a piece is there, throw it on the ground, a piece is there, like all these different things. And sorry, it was made to defeat um, uh,
Heimdall.
Heimdall. I was going to say Hermes. Heimdall, originally to defeat Heimdall, but also when you're fighting Odin, it is your best bet. You know, the spear is your best bet when you're fighting Odin too. But the fact that that spear came into play, it's a gift just for him. It was created for him by the dwarves, forged for him by the dwarves, specifically for Kratos.
Yeah.
To then be gifted the god of hope. Like, it's basically taking an old identity for Kratos and turning it into something beautiful. And uh, that's just a testament to the entire story,
Yeah.
right? Because he went from having nothing. You know, he and his son went back to living in their little shack. Uh, didn't really have a big bad to fight. Then the big bad showed up, and now his son is running off on his own with powers that he doesn't understand.
Hmm.
And now he's having to hope that his son is taken care of while he's left behind, just kind of like, I guess I'm going to clean up this area and help, you know, help what's her face run this place.
Freya.
Yeah, Freya, help Freya run this place and get going. Um, I'm spacing on names today because I'm in a lot of pain, but we're good. Uh, it's very much like, okay, we're going to start fresh. We're going to start new,
Hmm.
you know? So I think that that was a beautiful addition that needed to happen. It was a necessary thing that a lot of people kind of overlooked. Um, and also the fact that he had Brock with him, which
Hmm.
Brock was either than other than Atreus and Mimir, I would say Brock was probably his closest friend,
Yep.
you know, because they understood each other in ways that Atreus didn't understand Kratos and Mimir didn't understand Kratos, but
'Cause-
Brock did.
Well, and that's because I think he talked straightforward.
Hmm
A
hmm
lot of I'm not saying that people have to be like politically correct or anything, but there is a certain
hmm
type of normalcy of tact that even in real life, when we're
hmm
talking, that we experience. And then, but some people who is more used to being more, I guess, brutish or anything or something like that, it's
hmm
like they might view that as being PC when it's like it's not, it's normal. But
hmm
but Brock was straightforward like Kratos. Like he's like,
hmm
why are we talking about this right now?
hmm
Take that thing, go over there. And he would call people stupid that was stupid.
Yeah.
He would call people that was idiots, right?
hmm
And don't worry about that. Anyway,
Okay. You would do stuff like that.
huh?
That was a Brock move right there.
Oh, was it? Oh yeah,
Yeah. Out of
yeah.
nowhere.
But
Uh,
we gonna edit that out.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, no, he was a straightforward talker. And I think
hmm
Kratos appreciated that candor because he himself is a straightforward talker. He
Yeah.
he he might not be as let's say vulgar as Brock, but he is
hmm
definitely straightforward. And the amount of
Yeah.
words that he says is very poignant and straightforward. And I think that's why they
Yeah.
share that kind of bond.
Yeah. Well, I think the other part of it is Brock was the only one that really honored Kratos' wife's death the way that Kratos appreciated.
Mm,
Because he honored her death with a sense that no one else really would, in a way.
hmm
Like he understood the gravity of what Kratos was feeling. And even with tending to the axe, he was like, I'm not going to change a thing. I'm just going to upgrade it and tend to it, be in honor of the woman that I made this for.
right.
And Dimitri's thing was like, oh, you let Brock touch it? I'm going to fix this up and da 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 da. But Brock was like, I know this axe and I know the woman that carried it.
hmm
And if you were her husband, I'm going to take care of you just like I took care of her.
Right.
So for Kratos, I think even though he was very brutish to him in 2018 God of War, like that's what started their bond was that moment. And nobody really caught it except for Brock and Kratos himself. Kratos caught it and Brock caught it because
Right.
they understood each other in that way.
Right.
Uh,
Because they could
which to
feel it
me
in their
is,
scrot.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. They were like,
Yeah.
this is just what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and what's funny is like, you could also tell that Kratos loves Mimir very much,
hmm
but you could also tell like he loves him like he would a brother. He
hmm
loves Brock like someone that he's gone to war with, and he loves Mimir like a brother, someone that he's going to protect and somebody that he's going to, razz and everything. So when Brock sits there and just gives it to Mimir nonstop, Kratos loves it. He's constantly just like, yeah, let him have it. He
Yeah.
talks a lot. He deserves it,
What
you know.
here's so what do you think like because the way that they left it, right?
hmm
Because Atreus is with Angrboda, right?
hmm
And
hmm
they going off doing their thing.
hmm
And now Sindri, I don't know what time he's on. Like, I just know that they make it seem like, oh, he can low key become a villain. And I'm like, I don't even know, but he's so skittish, right? And he's so combat averse, right? Like when I say combat averse, I mean like I don't mean that he won't go to war because he will, he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not like Kratos, not like Atreus, not like that. He'll set up contraptions, he'll make things better, or he'll set up like he'll take like a rock and like hammer it and it'll
hmm
turn into like a bomb and he'll like throw it and then he'll
hmm
disappear into like another dimension like temporarily.
hmm
I'm like
hmm
I don't see him becoming a fighter like that. Like
I
I can't see
would
him being
if
a
he
boss.
I would if he is only the boss in Atreus' story and not Kratos's.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
Atreus would not want to kill him. Atreus would be very like, Sindri, let's talk about this. But if Sindri was like, nope, you killed my brother, I'm done with you. You're the reason why he's dead. Um, I the way that Sindri took out Odin when he was put into the marble was cold-blooded. Cold-blooded.
Which is funny because
Yeah.
here's the real reason why that's funny. That
Huh.
whole thing was funny because like we're finally seeing a couple of characters get like catharsis, right? And get
hmm
like peace,
hmm
right? And get some like
Yeah.
reconciliation, right? The whole
hmm
idea of Kratos passing off the torch to his son, right?
hmm
But
hmm
then he's like, nah, I don't need this. Like, if we did this like, I'm not trying to be out for revenge. That's not what time I'm on. And then he's
hmm
like, well then, Freya, it's your turn. Right? Because I stole the kill from you,
Yeah.
and that wasn't right according to like our tradition, our culture, right?
hmm
So it's yours. And then she was like, nah. And so they took this like happy, sappy family moment, and then
Yeah.
dude's like, man, give it here.
hmm
Clap. Like, and then he left. He left. I was like, well,
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
And to me, that's the reason why I think that Sindri will be a good villain
Mhm,
for Atreus. Maybe not the main villain, but a villain.
mhm.
Kind of like Freya was for Kratos in
Okay.
Ragnarok,
Yeah, like
you
that
know?
beginning boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause
You know,
she,
beginning boss also she attacks him again at their home, like dressed up as a Valkyrie. She shows up in their backyard
yeah, oh yeah.
and fights him, you know. That was a tough fight.
Yeah, no, that I think that was the beginning. Yeah, that was like the first boss.
No, that the beginning she you're riding through with the dogs on the sled and then she comes out of nowhere and attacks
Right.
him.
I'm talking about that whole
And
sequence.
then right, but later in the game, after you fight Thor,
Yeah.
after you go through the whole Atreus transforms into a bear scene, after you go through all those things, Freya comes back and attacks Kratos in the backyard.
Okay. I thought that was the same thing because they was chasing them
Nope,
and then they lost her for a little bit. And then
nope,
yeah, look,
no,
it's been like almost 2 years since I played the game. So I'm like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
No, so the reason why she got into their home
mm,
is because Atreus breaks the tree that is putting up the protection spell around their home. So
mm.
she gets in when that ward is broken. So they come back from fixing it, and then that's when she tries to take out Kratos, and Atreus turns into a bear and almost kills her, and
Right.
Kratos has to stop Atreus from killing her.
And now, and now, listen, if they have other kids, you know,
Atreus might have some competition. I will say that. I think that if Freya and Kratos have a kid, it needs to be a son. You know, like it would only make sense if it was a son for Freya's sake.
you
For
don't
Freya's sake.
I was about to say you don't want it to be like you don't want it to be like a daughter because of like what happened with Calliope.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I would like that, but I think it would make better sense because the child would be for Freya, not so much for Kratos.
Okay.
So if she's given a son after she lost her son and she loved her son so much. You know,
Right.
she's kind of given Atreus, but at the same time, like she was out of Atreus's life quite a bit because of her anger and all this stuff. Um, I think that that would be poetic in a way. I think that that would make a lot of sense. Um,
Oh, oh, oh. You know what I just thought of?
hmm,
Atreus and like let's say that happened. Atreus and him
mhm.
hate each other.
Oh,
That would
eh, yeah, I
like
don't know.
well, okay, on some like tech and dysfunctional.
Yeah, maybe later down the line, like it would have to be after Kratos is gone, or if Kratos is like, you know, something happens where Kratos gets teleported to a different realm or something like that,
Yeah.
and they're both trying to find him. But the younger brother is reminding Atreus too much of himself at
Mhm.
that age, and he's so much older now, and he's just getting frustrated with him, like Kratos was getting frustrated with Atreus. But instead of being a father-son relationship, it's a brother-brother relationship, so it's not really that tie that was happening.
Yeah.
So Atreus finally gets to the point where he's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm kicking your butt the way that dad would have kicked mine.
Yeah.
And that sparks off, the sibling rivalry in that case. It would make sense.
And and well, yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, like you could at least have it be like it wouldn't be like a whole um villain arc thing. It would be just be like it would be like kind of like their journey as getting along as brothers. And
Hmm.
one of them would have to be the boss like towards the
Yeah,
beginning of the game or mid of the game, something like that.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
reason why I say that is because I'm like, look, they come from dysfunction, and it seems like between the 2018 one and Ragnarok, it's like
Hmm.
the whole thing, well, actually the whole series in general is like family dysfunction, family trauma,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the whole cycles of revenge and junk like that.
Hmm.
And it's like they just now found peace, right?
Ooh.
What?
Okay, writers of God of War, if you want to hire me for this idea, please do. Um, so let's say at this point, Atreus is like 30 years old.
Okay.
Okay. That would make the kid probably 16, 17.
Okay.
We'll go with that age. Atreus is doing his thing with Agrabah. He has kids now, all these things. All of a sudden, Freya shows up at his door and says, Kratos has been missing. We can't find him anywhere. You need to come home. Atreus goes, okay, I'll come home. Or she sends somebody to go retrieve him, such as uh, the female dwarf, whatever her name is, I forget.
Oh, the one that's now working with Sindri.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or working for Sindri, since Sindri is kind of like,
Yeah.
on. So Atreus goes, he gets back to home, essentially. He walks in and there's nothing. It's just bare bones gone. No one's there. Everything is like just whatever. And he's like, okay. But with his giant powers, he smells something. And he's like, man, this is like a weird, it smells like dad, but I don't know. So he starts tracking this. He tracks it to Freya's old house, the turtle.
Right.
He talks to the turtle raises up. Once he goes inside, all of a sudden, this dude out of nowhere using magic like Freya and having the strength of Kratos and all this stuff comes flying out of nowhere. He's bigger than Atreus, maybe like bulkier than Atreus, but a little bit shorter. He works out his muscles like Kratos does and all this stuff because Atreus doesn't want to lift things. But maybe he's lifting things because his parents are actually warriors and they're having to live in this time where he has to be a warrior. So he comes out of nowhere and just like tackles Atreus through a window, right? They crash into a field. They start fighting. Atreus doesn't know this dude from Adam. He doesn't know he has a brother. We'll go with that. He doesn't know he has a brother. He had
Right.
no clue he has a brother. So they start fighting like men, right? And they're just trying to really take each other out. Then all of a sudden, a Leviathan axe comes flying out of nowhere and lands in this dude's hand.
Oh,
Atreus
dude.
goes,
Dude.
Atreus goes, you stole my father's axe, right?
What if he
You
tries to
lose his
call it
mind.
too?
Yeah, what if he tries to call it to or something? Or the spear appears in his hand, something like that, something where he doesn't expect it. And so Kratos thinks this dude's killed my dad. And they start really, like, really fighting and everything and trying to take each other out. And then Atreus drops his knife.
Hmm.
The guy picks up the knife and looks at it, holds out a knife just like Kratos is, and he's looking at the two knives.
Hmm.
And he goes, Why is your knife like my father's?
Yeah.
Boom,
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
boom,
I like
boom.
it. I
Find out,
just
find out the dude's his brother. Uh, Atreus is confused because his dad never reached out, never found him, could never find him, tell him that he had a brother. He's been gone for so many years. Um,
now what now here becomes the
mhm,
thing.
mhm,
What's like okay, so because we know that at this point in the series,
mhm,
they've already opened up the door to saying they basically opened up the door to like saying that offspring from different pantheons
mhm,
are like basically gods of that pantheons just with their backgrounds rewritten, right?
mhm, mhm.
So who does the dude become? Like who is he?
He would become the god of Freya's realm,
Yeah, no,
the
but
king of Freya's realm.
what would be his name though?
Mm,
You see what I mean?
that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe Brock. They
Brock.
named Brock. Yeah, name after Brock. That'd be
Okay.
interesting. Or they, I don't know, something like
Yo,
because Atreus was named after a Spartan that sacrificed his life for Kratos.
right. But his mother called him Loki, right? So
Right, right.
so that's the part I'm trying to figure out what's the tie-in, right?
Mm,
So this is what I'm
yeah.
thinking. What if
Hmm.
what if the what if the name what if they go on an adventure together
Hmm.
after they have that initial fight, but it's to
Hmm.
another realm because Tyr already opened up the door to where it's like uh somehow gods are traveling between different pantheons and
Right,
different realms. And
right,
Kratos,
right.
obviously, Kratos being in the Norse pantheon now, before he was in the Greek one, right? So, what if the dude's name is Brock, right? They go on
Mm,
an adventure to another realm where there's another pantheon, and he
mm,
becomes another god there, and they give him the name.
mm, mm. It'd have to be something that makes uh
So whatever power you give him from Kratos and
mhm,
Freya, it has
mhm,
to be representative of the god over there, or at least have some
mhm,
type of small hint of, like, for example, Loki, like in the real Norse mythology, like his whole thing was like wolves and stuff like that, right?
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
now he has wolves in his thing, like in the game, right?
mhm,
Even though that's not,
mhm,
but like maybe if the his character's name is Brock, but if they travel to another pantheon, right?
mhm,
Let's say they travel to like Egypt or something like that, and then they just start
mhm.
wrecking fools. It's like, well, yeah, we're gonna call him Osiris or something like that. So,
Yeah, something. Um, I think it would also be interesting if they name him after uh Freya's brother,
okay,
Freyr, and then he has Ingrid, the sword, Freyr's sword.
wait a minute. I thought that sword got destroyed.
Mhm.
When did it come back? Wasn't he
Uh,
wasn't Freyr using that to hold back what's his name?
a Surtur. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it doesn't necessarily say that it got destroyed. He was just using to hold it back. But I mean, if that sword kind of comes out of nowhere, that'd be cool. Instead of the Leviathan axe, so then Kratos still has the Leviathan axe, but then the sword recognizes Atreus and won't let the character kill Atreus because it recognizes Atreus. That would be interesting.
right.
Um, Sorry, just a side note that I had in my brain.
Yeah, no, you're
But
good.
to answer that question of what god would he be? Oh man, that would be interesting if he was given like the name Osiris or something like that.
I'm gonna look up.
Yeah. I think it would be, I think it'd be a little bit redundant. If he was a god, I think it'd be better if he was like a giant, or named after a titan of Greek mythology or something like that.
Like his regular name. Or do
Well,
you
the
mean
name
the
that
name
they
that he's
call him,
given? Okay.
the name that he's given, maybe it's like based on a titan instead of a god of Greek mythology or um Tyr was a giant, so giants would be interesting.
Okay, so then let's play with this then.
Hmm.
What pantheon are you sending him to?
That's a hard one. Um, I think they want to send them to Egypt, or Aztecs. It's either Egypt or Aztecs that they're going to be doing next. Um, I think the Egyptian one would make sense. Uh,
Okay. I know that they was possibly thinking about doing like some type of Eastern, like China or something like that.
yeah, China or something along those lines. Uh,
So what is Freya's power again?
she's got magical arts and she can control plants and stuff like that.
Huh?
So, like, she has binding spells. She can turn into a hawk and fly around. Uh, she's got her wings because she's a Valkyrie, but they appear and disappear. Um, stuff like that.
And then Kratos has his like rage and
His
super strength.
rage, super strength, and healing. He can heal.
Well, that's just a product of being a god, though.
Yeah, but his is a little bit more effective than others, I think.
Sure, sure. So all right, let's let's do this. Because I don't know what the I don't know what it's called.
Would be
So
interesting is if,
so if they head to real quick,
uh-huh,
if they head to Egypt,
uh-huh,
I think I think if he's like a mix of like all those, all those things, what with the wings, super
mhm,
strength, he's gonna have a moderate healing factor, not as good as Kratos, but it's probably gonna be more. It's got probably the strength is probably gonna be maybe about the same, maybe a little bit more than Atreus.
probably
Um,
more.
yeah,
Because he'd probably be more of a melee fighter while Atreus sticks to his bow.
right. And so, I'm thinking if they send him, and because you said she is in control of plants.
Hmm.
I'm thinking, found, I think you call him, um, maybe Geb, Earth, in Egyptian, it's the Earth god, member of Enid or something like that, however you pronounce that. So maybe he can move to Earth, and that's why like he's got that super strength,
Yeah, maybe
you know,
that would
and
work. That
and
would
then
work.
and then for the Aztec, if he wanted to
I think
deal,
Aztec would make more sense, honestly.
I can't pronounce these names. They got a whole bunch of X's and H's in them. They
Of
call them
course,
they got some zoo Tekachuchuchuli something. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce Xiuhteculi. That's more consonants than vowels. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. That's
I
Jutekachuli. I don't know.
I think it'd be more interesting to go African, just because of how many different,
That and the
I don't
names
know.
are easier to pronounce.
Yeah, yeah, you know. But I think it would
Montu is
be
the god of war
interesting.
in
Montu,
Egypt. Montu is the
that
god
would
of war in
that
Egypt.
that would work. Um, Part of me wishes I keep coming back to. I wish that they didn't kill off all the Norse gods so quick, But it is what it
Yeah.
is.
There's some that's left, ain't there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's Thor's daughter. There's
His wife.
his wife, Lady Sif. That's about it. Everybody else is gone.
That's
I
it.
mean, Freya. Freya technically is Norse mythology, but yeah, that's it.
What
Jormungandr.
what what's
Jormungandr is still there, the giant snake.
yeah. Wait a minute. This is two groups. There's the
Mhm.
Aesir and the what's the other one?
Mm.
The
I know
Aesir
what
guy?
the giants.
No, 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 no,
The
no.
giants.
No, the like okay, so Freya and them is not Aesir. They're
No,
something
they're
else.
part of yeah, they're part of the
But they also start with an A.
hmm hmm
This Acer and or yeah, no, I don't know how to. It's Acer and something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
Vanir.
Vanir, that's what it is. Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure it's with the
Yeah.
A.
So
There's an A in it.
Freya is a Vanir,
hmm
and Thor and the rest of them is Acer.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But Vanaheim is pretty much, she's trying to rebuild Vanaheim and everything. That's why they're having the issues that they're having and needing a god of war and everything and a general to fight all the battles that they have going on because there's a lot of realm tears and everything else. But as far as where they're going to go next, Egypt would make sense. I guess China would make sense. Um, yeah, they did go with the Norse. It would be cool to see them do like Celtic as well. Go
Okay.
go like Scottish and Ireland area because that's kind of close together in a way. So that would make a lot of sense to me. Because we still don't know much about the big dudes with the giant swords that hold up the glowing spheres. The big dude in Vanaheim was part of them. I think they're called like the Pathfinders or something like that. We don't know much about them. Uh,
What you talk?
you
What?
fight them a lot. You fight them a lot.
Oh, what
Yeah.
do are they the dudes that keep swinging the thing around and then
hmm
and then you
hmm
knock off their helmets and then you still
hmm
gotta like
hmm Take out
okay.
their armor, their breastplates, all that. Yeah. So we don't know much about those guys, but they seem kind of Scottish to me. So I think it would make sense if they went to like Scotland or Ireland, did some Celtic, that would make sense to me. Like even have uh, Atreus wind up in the Celtic realm, because a lot of the giants
Hmm.
were based upon the Celtics in Norse mythology. You look at Thor. He looks like he's Scottish. He looks Celtic. Um, so I think that would be interesting to kind of jump into that realm and figure that out. It would make a lot of sense. Uh, for Atreus to wind up there. Maybe Jormungandr is the reason why he winds up there. I don't know. But
Maybe him and Angrboda through their journey of rescuing the giants seeks out the
mhm.
technology that's used by the Pathfinders to hop between realms.
Yeah, yeah, potentially. Um, or maybe they find that they hear a rumor that there's a bunch of giants in this new land, and they go there to try to find them.
I never understood the whole thing with giants and they not actually be giant except for like a few. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a whole land of them to where like they're monumental. They're like Chrono size, right?
Hmm.
But then it's like
Hmm.
she said, Angrboda said, "Oh, that's my grandma." I'm like, first of
Hmm.
all, how she get to be that size? And second, why aren't you getting to be that size? Because the moment that they
It was
put,
a
huh?
it was a curse by Odin. It was a curse by Odin that took away their giant, like their giantness.
Right. So okay, cool, but he dead now.
Hmm.
So that
Yep.
should
Well, that's what Atreus and Agrabah are trying to do. They're trying to further break that curse
oh,
so
okay.
that they can, because remember, all the giant souls are now inside, so they have to go and
Find them new
uh,
bodies.
find them new bodies and everything. Yeah. So hold on a second.
Yeah, yeah. Well, guys, if you're liking this content, we'll continue to do it. Just make for sure you leave a comment and things of that nature. All the huge.
Yep. No, it's definitely it'd be cool to see Atreus go to the Celtic realm. I think that would be really cool. Uh, it would make it interesting because I could see Thor's daughter winding up in the Celtic realm because they're
Okay.
trying to find a new place to land, right? So if her landing there, and then he's hearing about this red-haired, crazy chick that harnesses lightning with a hammer, and he doesn't know that she has Mjolnir. He has no idea. Uh, he goes in and all of a sudden he sees her through, she's sitting there in the Celtic realm and he's like, oh my gosh, you're here. And now he's got like a certain, you know, now Agrabah is with him and she's like, who is this chick? I'm like, cause that kind of drama. I think that'd be pretty funny. Um, but
The boy hasn't been taught how to woo yet.
yeah, Matata, yeah, you're right. Matata would,
But I mean, there was pretty close that like he might have, you know,
yeah, yeah,
Mimir did. At least he taught him how he wished he wooed.
hmm, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we can't all be Kratos, you know?
No, it's not even I don't think
Uh.
that's good for your social life if you're even a tiny bit him. It,
Hey,
it's
I'm
useful in
bald.
war and break-ins and stuff like that, but other than that, it's not that useful.
Brains. Oh, that's awesome.
You need to summon that Spartan aggression and stuff like that as somebody breaking into your house, stealing your food, eating your stuff, trying to
Listen,
get at you and the people that that are your family.
listen. I'm a nice guy. You get through the dog.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Hey,
The dog will be nicer than me. I will say that.
Do what you have to do. Do what you have to do.
Yeah,
Listen,
but anyway, no, I think that would be interesting. I'm definitely intrigued to see what they do with the Atreus' story. I really am.
yeah,
Um, like Kratos, don't get me wrong, Kratos is the GOAT. Everybody knows that.
right.
Like, keep making games with Kratos. You have to keep making games with Kratos. But the spin-off they're doing with the Atreus, I think is really good. I really do. I see a
Did
lot
they
of hope in
announce
it.
that?
They did. They
Okay.
did. Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna drop hold on, I'll look it up. But they were saying the next game is gonna be Atreus.
Okay.
So uh it's his own spin-off as he embarks on a quest to find his remaining kin. Playing as Atreus offers a different combat experience with his bow. Um yeah, so that was in August 21st of 2023 that was announced.
Okay.
So that was um after Ragnarok was released. So it sounds like Atreus is going to have his own spin-off, which I enjoyed playing as Atreus. I didn't enjoy it as much as Kratos, obviously,
Yeah.
because Kratos is Kratos,
Hmm.
but I did enjoy uh, the spin-off of Atreus' character and everything. But they're saying that the next one, even the developers said that the next one is going to be an Atreus standalone game. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully they get the dude on it. And one last thing before we close up because I know it's
yes,
getting to be about that time. Um,
yeah. We're gonna not talk about God of War next time. Hopefully, probably not. We love the game. We're probably gonna talk about it a
maybe depends on like what like theories we have and stuff we
yeah,
come up with.
yeah,
What you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about the you think that there's a larger story to be developed over the origins of the mask
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
and what that because they haven't revealed it yet.
yeah.
We still don't know who blew Mm. We still don't know who blew the horn in the 2018 version.
That was the 2018 version. That was Ragnarok. Um, I think
Mm.
it was the real Loki.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
I don't think Atreus is Loki.
Okay. Which
I think there is a true Loki in that universe somewhere.
I don't know what I think about that.
I think
Because
there is.
because that would just throw everything off.
Would it?
Yeah, it would.
How so?
Because all the first of all, there's no plot point for him. Like what good is him being there, like from a story perspective, when like all his thing is basically Atreus's storyline, which is recovering
Hmm.
his bloodline. If
Hmm.
there is a true Loki, as it were,
Hmm.
right, he should
Hmm.
have the same backstory as Atreus in some way, shape, or form, right?
Hmm.
And that means that with all the fighting is done, well, it
Hmm.
wasn't done at that point, but
Hmm.
if he's just watching from the sidelines, or if just watching from the sidelines, watching Kratos and Atreus doing work and doing all this stuff
Uh-huh.
and triggering Ragnarok and all this other stuff, I don't know where he go. Like he don't have no purpose for the future because his his vengeance. his whole
hmm
motivation is vengeance, and his vengeance
hmm
has been completed.
hmm hmm
If that was the thing.
Unless, unless,
Okay.
for one, he was trapped within realms and he couldn't get out.
Okay. I
So
I feel like that wouldn't make a difference.
it would if he wasn't able to fulfill his vengeance. So he blew the horn, seeing everything happen, and he goes, "Okay." When I think like if we take a look, I don't want to take too much of Marvel into this because I don't want to give them the time of day. But if we were to take what they did with the Loki series in Marvel, and
Okay.
they made that Loki in charge of the tree that ties everything together.
Okay.
So if we have a true Loki who is a trickster, who is somebody that is in control of the world tree and can control where everything goes with the world tree, who has been watching Kratos and Atreus, but cannot necessarily do what they're doing because he is stuck in whatever, either he's stuck with the world tree or he's stuck in the form that he's currently in and he can't go anywhere,
It
but
would
he
have
has
to
all
be
the powers
form.
of Loki. We don't know much about the squirrel.
Okay. Yeah.
He's able to astro project himself into all these different areas.
Right.
He himself never leaves the world tree.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, but that's not because he can't.
Unless
Is
unless he can't. Unless he can't. Because it's not written that he can't leave it. It's not written that he can leave it.
okay.
What I'm saying is you got those marbles that transfer souls into things, right?
Right.
What if he transferred his own soul into the squirrel to protect the last of the giants, knowing that he was going to be able to make a way for the giants to be saved?
I think a couple of things. I think you still run into the same problem. Like, okay, if he was trapped between realms, right? Because
Hmm.
they were trapped in between realms,
Yeah.
right? They fixed them,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
whatever he's trapped by, he's no longer trapped by that. Now, here's the other thing.
After Odin is dead. He's no longer trapped after Odin is dead.
Well, forget that.
Hmm.
Just, I mean, because the whole healing process of, so wait a minute, are you
Hmm.
saying that the only way that that can work is if it's another curse that's just as powerful as, the thing. Now, but
Hmm.
but that's not what you said. You said he transferred his own soul into the squirrel.
Either he transferred his own soul or somebody transferred his soul,
I don't,
would be
but
my. What if, hold on, what if it was Atreus's mother who took that soul, knew that that giant Loki was a trickster to fit the Norse mythology, because Loki is a trickster, knew that he was just going to be the god of mischief, knew that he was just going to cause problems, knew that he was just going to get in the way, and said, okay, we're going to make this whole thing come to pass, and I'm going to let everybody believe that my son is going to be Loki for the purpose of protecting the real hidden truth behind everything. Because we still don't know what her plan was. She had a plan. We still don't know exactly what it was. So if she were to actually take the soul of Loki, put it into the squirrel,
okay.
and the squirrel doesn't fully know, like, I am Loki 100% yet. Like, he doesn't fully remember everything because even Jormungandr gets transferred into the snake. He might remember everything, but because the wolf remembered everything. Anyway, he gets transferred into this thing. So he gets transferred in the squirrel. He can't find his own way out because she does a binding spell on him keeps him there because her magic is very strong as well. She has very, very strong binding spells and everything else. That's why she was able to ward off all the things around their protection spell and ward off Balder as long as she did and everything else. So in doing that, I think that she would have set it up to where Atreus and Kratos would be successful because this person that no one expects to be anything
Mhm.
is truly the god of mischief, truly the trickster, truly Loki, and he's in charge of the world tree.
See, but then that makes me question her judgment. If she knew,
Hmm.
if she knew that, let's say, for lack of a better like phrase, if true Loki
Hmm.
was has such a bad reputation,
Hmm.
why would she name her son after somebody who has a bad reputation?
Because nobody will remember the reputation after a certain amount of time. All the people that remember the that reputation
Yeah,
are gone.
but you gotta remember though, Odin's whole thing was prophecy, and so he was
Hmm.
spreading that out throughout the nine realms. So
Right.
the prophecy of who Loki is and what he would have done would have remained the
Hmm.
same.
Hmm.
So I mean, she
But in
would
the Giants,
she
the
would be
Giants had different prophecies.
she would be well she would be inviting danger upon her own son for the sake
Maybe
of
she was
what?
intending, maybe she was intending for the danger to be invited upon herself,
But
and
she
she
just
didn't expect to die.
uh okay. So then this is what so to answer your question, I disagree. I think we know what her true purpose was,
Mm.
which was yeah, I think it was to get revenge on Odin, which is I think technically
Hmm.
the whole main plot of it.
Right.
Um, and second, to like help her husband and help her husband and her son reconcile and also heal her husband
Hmm.
at the same time, which is the reason why, well, she didn't do this, but Angrboda did, which is
Hmm.
why that mural was on the back,
Hmm.
right? Because the whole
Hmm.
idea of the prophecy. And to be honest, I don't know how prophetic what you call what's her name is
Mm. Yeah.
Kratos's wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I think two things. Number
Yeah.
one, why did they burn her body? What happened to her soul? Because all these giants have their souls go into things. So what happened to her soul? Why did they burn the body? What purpose was that?
I think she's just
She
dead.
purposely, I know she's just dead,
Oh.
but the whole warding of the trees and everything, she purposely tells Kratos to take all those and make a fire out of the warding on the trees when she dies.
Hmm.
So the fact that she now is dead and she immediately goes, okay, I'm going to leave you unprotected. The moment I die, you're going to be unprotected. Why did she have to die first for them to no longer be protected? What happened with that? Was her body dying what kind of sparked Jotunheim to come back to life and all this stuff? I don't know. Um, but that always made me wonder exactly what her reasoning was behind it. So in a way, if it was someone was bound while she was still living, as long as she was alive, they were bound. Her passing could unbind them for some reason. I don't know. There's a lot of questions because there's obviously still giants. She wasn't the last of the giants. You have Agrabah and you have Agrabah's grandmother.
Hmm.
There has to be more giants in my mind. There has to be more giants somewhere, some way, somehow, and not just in the marbles. They gotta be somewhere.
Right.
because Atreus puts this soul into a snake, which, yeah, he puts one soul into a snake.
And that becomes Jormungandr.
So we think, yeah,
Well, that's what they call him.
yeah, that's what they call him, is Jormungandr. But at the same time, like
And
Jormungandr's alive in the
w
present.
wait a
Is
minute.
this the
Ain't
past?
wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up because then what ends up happening is the you got to remember when he put the soul of the giant into the snake was increasingly getting bigger, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it wasn't, I'm not gonna, because game days, I don't know, but a couple of days that thing was this giant, and they noted at the start of Ragnarok that like, yo, that looks like Jormungandr, but clearly like Jormungandr looks
Hmm.
younger. It don't look like the one that we know.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
we see Thor flying
Hmm.
and then hit him, right? And then
Hmm.
they both disappear. No, no, no,
Yep.
no,
No,
no.
no.
They don't both disappear.
Jormungandr
But
disappears.
Jormungandr disappears. And
Hmm.
that's when it's noted like he hit him so hard that he knocked him back to the past.
Hmm.
So that Jormungandr that we see in 2018 is the
Hmm.
same one that is the same one that just got knocked back to the past in Ragnarok.
Hmm. But it makes me wonder how far in the past Jotunheim is to everything else.
I want to say like maybe like 100 years or something like that.
Something like that. So if Jotunheim is 100 years in the past, and all the giants are in these marbles and souls and everything else,
Right.
wouldn't it then make sense 100 years in the future that there are giants who are in other bodies?
Wait a minute. You say if Jotunheim was I was thinking that Jormungandr got knocked 100 years back into the past.
Yes. If Jormungandr got knocked 100 years into the past, that means that the moment that Atreus put his soul into the snake
Right.
in Jotunheim, that would also, technically speaking, that realm is 100 years in the past from everything else. Technically. So Agrabota could potentially
No, 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 no. I'm gonna tell you why. Because that's like you look at
make it
Flash.
make sense.
Okay,
Make it make sense.
you look at Flash, right?
Hmm.
Did you watch Flash, the CW show?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so Flash goes back to the past,
Hmm.
right? And he was able to stop himself, right?
Hmm.
He was able to stop himself from stopping Thawne.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Right? Yeah. So that would have been like uh what 16 years in the past, whatever. But
Hmm.
if something was to happen, all let's say he stayed in the past, right?
Hmm.
He would have just naturally grew up, but there would simultaneously at the same time be a another one existing in parallel with him, making the cycle of time like
Hmm.
loop, right? Where he's constantly faced with the events back in the past. So at some point in time, there are two of them because it's like a paradoxical
Hmm.
instantiation of the Flash, right? So I think
Hmm.
that's what's going on there, right? When you have if the person is going getting hit so hard they're back in the past,
Hmm.
he's only going back to the past from the time he got bigger, right?
Hmm.
He's not de-aging. He goes
Hmm.
back, right? And he's aged all that time up until the point that they meet again,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
technically speaking, there are two Jormungandrs. There's one in the lake, and there's one that's in the other realm that is existing at the same time.
Hmm. So why can't there be two Lokis?
You would have to, so then you would have to say that Loki would have had to, for some reason, go back to the past, which I don't think there's any reason for him to go back to the past at that point because it's already done.
Unless he was actually, unless.
And real quick, and
Mhm.
we haven't seen hide nor hair of going in between different realms affecting time, like affecting their placement in time relative to the other realms. That's the other
Mhm.
thing.
So hear me out. What if there was some kind of binding that Atreus' mom, Kratos' wife,
Mhm.
put when she died? They poured out her ashes in Jotunheim. When they poured out her ashes in Jotunheim, that's what triggered the binding, and that binding is actually the same spirit of Loki, which is in Atreus, because she calls Atreus Loki, gets released in Jotunheim. So there might be another Atreus, essentially, but it's actually pure Loki instead of half giant, half Greek god. It's just 100% giant. That is Atreus essentially, just a different version of Atreus. That is Loki that blew the hole.
Where's the time travel in that though?
It would be just separate times, right? Because then it'd be a younger version of Atreus, a
Right.
younger version Loki. He's in Jotunheim. Kratos blows the horn. Horn disappears. We don't know where the horn goes.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, okay, her if are you saying his soul is inside the ashes? Is that what you're saying?
Hmm.
Okay. If the, okay, but we seen the body get burned.
We see the body get burned.
Right. So how is the soul of an older Atreus inside?
Hmm.
Don't you think he would have recognized like something else that's going on with his mother's body? Wouldn't Kratos notice that? And then because they see it, they clearly, and keep in mind, Kratos is not that whole, like he don't really mess with
Yeah.
magic like that, but he does
Right.
notice the effects when he sees it, right? So he wouldn't notice when he prepared his wife's body to be burned. And that's the other thing. And Atreus is helping with it in some way, shape, or form too. They
Hmm.
both wouldn't notice that there's something weird going on with the wife's body to where they prepared it and burned it and all that other stuff. And then Atreus has held on to it all this time and then
They might
traveled
play
up
it
to the
off.
hill.
They may have played it off as something with the wording on the logs, the trees,
I don't know,
because there
man.
was
That
a different color that was being released in the smoke while she was being burned.
sure. I mean,
But I
I don't
don't.
know, man. Yeah,
This
yeah,
is all just like spitballing. You asked who might be blowing the horn. To me,
yeah.
like the fact that Jormungandr can go back in time and he's a giant, it makes sense to me that someone as powerful as the Loki potentially
He didn't do that
could
on his
have.
own volition, though.
No, I don't think so.
I think that was the first
Um,
and only time that that's happened.
maybe, but maybe Jormungandr can make it happen again for somebody else.
I don't know, man. That
I don't know either. But who else would it be? Who else would it be that blew the horn?
some are speculating some are speculating Odin himself.
Odin himself?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't see it.
I'm not saying that I think that. I'm like,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, sure, but I mean,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Um, why would it be?
um What were they trying to do? Remind me.
Destroy. They were trying to kill Odin. They were trying to bring in everybody from all the other realms to Asgard to take Odin down. Trigger Ragnarok. Um,
Yeah, in the main game, but that
yeah.
wasn't their aim in the first one. Their whole thing was trying to get take Mother's ashes to Jotunheim. That was
Oh,
the
I thought we were still talking about who blew the horn.
right. The horn was in the first game.
The horn wasn't in the first game. The
Yeah,
horn was
yes.
in Ragnarok.
Okay, Kratos blew the horn to trigger Ragnarok. We see that in the
Uh,
cutscene. But
mhm.
in the
He stole
first
it from
game,
Heimdall.
in the 2018 version, right?
Uh-huh.
They was just battling Magni and Modi or one of them. And they had to come up the elevator. As they were coming up the elevator, heard the horn sound. And they was
Mm.
like and they was like, who was that? We don't know. That question has never been answered. So that was in the first game. That's the one I'm referring to.
I was referring to when they were at Asgard after blowing the horn. They were about to attack Asgard.
Yeah.
They were going to blow the horn, and then the horn blew again. And when the horn blew again,
hmm
a bunch more people came in.
Oh no, yeah, no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the
Okay.
first game. Because that was the whole
In the
point of
first game,
yeah. Yeah, in the 2018 when they was when what's his name?
Baldur.
When Atreus
Oh,
killed
trust.
Modi
Yeah.
and because he stabbed him and then what you call it was getting sick,
Hmm.
they had Kratos had to carry him up the thing.
Hmm.
They went to the elevator and they heard the horn sound to call what's his name? Jormungandr. And they was like,
Hmm.
who who did
Oh,
that? Right.
okay. Okay.
So even after Ragnarok came out
Uh-huh.
and months later, the developers and the story writers still like it's still a mystery on who did that
Mm,
and for
okay.
why they did that.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
And that's why I'm saying
okay.
like, yeah, it's
So you and I have had different thoughts then.
okay.
Because I was thinking when they were in the middle of Ragnarok and the horn blew again, they didn't know who blew the horn.
Oh, yeah, no,
Because that's what triggered Jormungandr to show up.
okay.
Um, and it was a younger Jormungandr. It wasn't the older Jormungandr, which means that it had to be 100 years or something in the past.
No, it would just been the one that they just got. If it's the younger one, it's the one that Loki had just put the spirit.
Right. But I don't think he would have grown that quick in that rapid a time. It might have been,
Well,
but I
he
don't
was
know.
growing almost on sight, even in that
True.
cutscene.
He was growing a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. He growing a little bit. That's true. But I think so. My thought was it was it was Balder
In the
triggering
first one?
Jormungandr. Hmm.
Why?
Well, because he hurt Jormungandr shortly after that,
Okay.
so it
I
might
know.
have been him, but I don't know.
Hmm.
It could have been Odin, but I that is a fan theory though. On that one specifically, people say that it might have been Balder, and the reason why I might be able to pull it up actually. Um, Uh, yeah, some people think that it's because Boulder blew it so that he could find Thor and or not Thor, Kratos and Atreus.
Hmm.
Um, but
Some people are saying what you said and said it was future Loki, like on Reddit.
yeah, it could have been future Loki. I think it could be. It could be he went back in time and he or something. And because I really do think that Jotunheim works outside of time. How else will they be able to have the prophecies that they have and everything else? I do think that it's
I thought they were
time
just
just works
dreaming.
differently. It could be dreams, but it could also be the fact that, like, even Atreus said he was only gone for a day or two, but Kratos was like, "You've been gone for a long time," you know. So time works differently. We also saw in the light place that Kratos went into,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then Atreus pulls him out in 2018. He's like, "I was only gone for a couple minutes." Like, "You've been gone a long time." You
yeah,
know, like in certain realms, certain things, time works differently. So I think Jotunheim is one of those things that causes time to work differently. So it would stand to reason that an older Atreus could potentially go back in time based upon things within Jotunheim and everything else and blow that trumpet, blow that horn, as well as the horn that triggers Jormungandr to go to Ragnarok could have been an older Atreus as well. Um, but it's an interesting
yeah.
theory surrounding Jotunheim.
I I will
Uh,
say I do think I okay, if we're going with that, I will say I will halfway agree that
okay.
time works differently. I just don't
Yeah.
think it goes backwards. I think it's just scaled, right? The time dilation is
Okay.
different. Either
Okay.
like, for example, like even with our planets, right? Like even in
Mhm.
like within our planets, it's like you know how they say, well, um
We're gonna get some flat earthers angry in the comments, but go ahead.
say well, you know how like they say, well, no, I'm just comparing the planets to each other, right? Where it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we know that on Earth a day is 24 hours. Okay, but somewhere
Hmm.
on Mercury or like something like that, the day is like 39 hours or something stupid. I can't remember which planet it is, but
Hmm.
so the dilation, the scaling is different. And while it can't go back in time, the time might work different where it's like you experience time at a slow down rate,
Hmm.
right? Or
Hmm.
depending on where you go, maybe even a faster rate,
Hmm.
right? But not so fast to where it can make up for that difference.
Hmm.
But if let okay, but to your point, if a, if the scale was in multiples, right?
Hmm.
Three times, let's say three times the thing. If he was only
Hmm.
gone for a few moments, but Atreus is only perceiving it as, let's say, 3 days, because I think it was like
Hmm.
some days. I don't think he was like,
Yeah.
you know, which impressive, by the way, that he was holding off all those dark elves by himself for like
Hmm.
days, and he didn't have his
Hmm.
father there, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Then, to your point, it could be a future Loki if he spent time in a realm where the effects of the time dilation are so far scaled faster to where relative to where Kratos is experiencing it
Hmm.
is like slowed down to where once he went back to that realm yeah, that he would have been older. So
Yeah. Well, and here's the reason why I think that that works.
Hmm.
For one, Jormungandr hated the Aesir.
Yeah.
If any of the Aesir blew that horn, he wouldn't have shown up or he wouldn't have been totally chill when they came out. Like he would have been fighting somebody because he hated Baldur, he hated Thor,
Yeah.
hated Odin, he hated all these characters. So it doesn't make sense for that, for it to be an Aesir. Second, Atreus is gifted with speech and dialect.
Okay.
So if Atreus learns how to speak to Jormungandr, which he does in Ragnarok, and older Atreus speaking to Jormungandr, blowing the trumpet and speaking to him, for one, it triggers Kratos to get the Blades of Chaos.
Hmm.
That's what starts that whole thing,
Okay.
because that's what causes the whole fight in the first place. Um, because they go up, they hear it, and they're like, "Who did that?" And they go up, and that's when they fight Magni and Modi.
Hmm.
Um, but they were going to get jumped by Magni and Modi regardless. If an older Atreus knows that, and he can speak to Jormungandr,
Hmm.
it makes reason for me that if he's able to realm shift, realm travel, I think the Giants have a lot more abilities than people realize.
Yeah. They
Um,
just kept that
and
one
I
in the
do
bag.
They kept that one in the bag, but it might only be distinct for quote unquote Loki, who would be a Trask.
You're right. And
Which, what going back to it, forget the squirrel thing, but to say that it was the true Loki,
mhm.
in that sense, makes sense to me because Atreus doesn't become the true Loki until he goes off to go free all the giants.
Okay. Well, and then this is the only other thing that I'll say to that. The only because like I said, with the time dilation and everything like that, the only thing that I think that subverts that whole thing is the fact that transitioning between realms that scale up is still not going to leave you with two instantiations of yourself because
Right.
that's the only thing that subverts that whole thing of me being convinced that that is um not I wouldn't say not possible but not probable. That's the only
Yeah,
thing that keeps it from
that's
being not
fair.
probable for me.
That's fair. But at the same time, like if Atreus' soul gets transferred into something else or someone else, let's say by even Agrabah,
Mhm.
and so he's the true Loki being transferred into something else, like or someone else because, you know, Trace's body is gone or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's one of those that it's like to me it would make sense for it to be a Trace. It would also make sense for it to be Agrabah in that sense.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
because she is almost like Sindri in some sense to where she can
mhm,
like shift between realms sometimes.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't think like even when Atreus like first got to
He
wherever,
fell asleep and he woke up there.
right, and I'm like, we don't know how that happened.
He did it. That's the thing.
No, no,
It's
no,
like
but I don't think they explain how he did that.
no, I think it's a giant thing.
Okay.
I think it's a giant thing. Because she even says you can come back anytime you want.
Yeah. But yeah. But look, listen, man, we got into the fan theories, we got into the
We
whole
did.
God of War,
We did.
like that a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff is crazy. I'm gonna be looking out for more God of War
Yeah.
stuff to see what I can
I
find out.
was I was confused. I thought you were talking about Ragnarok. Yeah,
No,
the 2018 one. That one is a little bit more interesting in my mind.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because
Because
like
I
I
thought you were
said,
talking about the Galahorn,
nah,
not the summoning horn.
yeah.
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's still been that's like I said, after Ragnarok came out, sometime after, they were still saying, well, we haven't answered that yet. So I'm curious to what I'm curious of what they say.
mhm.
We see people all over, like, YouTube saying what they say, we finally know who it is, and they don't know. They do that for
Yeah,
clicks, but they don't
yeah,
they haven't said
yeah,
it. But yeah, man, it's crazy, and it's interesting, and I hope that they answer that in the future. But
yeah.
we are gonna wrap up this episode of Mechanics and Myth, where we discussed more myth than mechanics. And
We'll touch more on mechanics at another time. It's
yeah,
just you're bringing up some interesting things.
yeah, listen, story is interesting, especially when you discuss
Mhm,
elements of time travel, time dilation, or some type of time manipulation. And
mhm.
but yeah, man, we're so happy to have you guys here listening to us. If you guys are listening to us or watching us on the channel, the YouTube channel, because we're going to be starting that up at some point. Well,
As
by
well
the
as the
time
Rumble channel.
yeah, yeah. Well, by the time you see it, it's gonna be up. So of
Hmm.
course you'll know that it's up. Because
Hmm.
you're watching it. Because
Yes.
that's how logic
Yeah.
works.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Jordan, any other parting words?
Of course, I got to do this every time. Purchase Kid, a Wolf Jackson story on Amazon today. Going on a book tour next month. So these are going to start selling like hotcakes. They're going to go pretty fast. Also, purchase Get Nogged, A Crime Before Christmas, the murder mystery dinner party game created by the two of us. Um, it is a very, very unique and special game. You can play it multiple years in a row because there's 15 different outcomes. This is a game that just, well, in the spirit of Christmas, keeps on giving.
Right. Get knocked. Buy yours today.
Get Nogged. Buy yours today on Amazon.com. Hold on,
Did,
I knew that.
did you want to throw in the British voice in there?
I'm going to.
Okay.
Today on Amazon.com, buy Get Knocked and have a golly jolly Christmas on us. Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. Thank you so
Mhm.
much again for listening and watching, and we'll
Yep.
see you guys later. Stay blessed, stay encouraged in Jesus' name.
Yes, sir.